Hello and welcome to our latest We Think interview dedicated to improving waste circularity industry. My name is Tudor and I'm very happy to have with us today the CEO of Lixo, Marjorie Darcet. Hello, Marjorie, and thanks for accepting our invitation.
Hi.
For those who do not know, so Lixo is basically a French startup company that provides high-tech solutions to the waste management industry. And in this regard, today we will discuss how Lixo wants to accelerate the transition to an efficient waste management and recovery industry. So in this regard, Marjorie, first of all, can you please tell us a couple of words about yourself and maybe about your experience in this field?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Marjorie. I'm French and a little bit of Belgian. I have been working in industry for a little over 3 years now. And before that, I was working as a strategy consultant in various fields. So I'm not per se an expert in the sense that I haven't spent my entire career working in the field, but I am deeply, deeply convinced that there's a lot to do when it comes to waste and what we can do to boost circularity at a very large scale. And I guess that's what I can say the most about my experience, and it's my motivation. The fact that I am, but my co-founder Olivier is also convinced that tech can bring change to the industry and change it as at an industrial and global scale.
That is very interesting, Marjorie. Thank you very much. And now I think we can just jump into the situation. So for today, I have prepared set of questions for you. And the first one would be related to the state of play in the waste industry in France and in the EU. And I was wondering if you could tell us about, from your point of view, what would be the main, let's say, technical and legal challenges, both in France, but also in the EU, maybe, and
Yeah,
also opportunities, of course.
for sure. Well, I think you've already put your finger on something. It's not an industry that should be looked at locally.
Mhm.
It's a global problem, and it requires global solutions. I would say that the biggest challenges that the industry faces is, until now, the lack of, say, incentives from product manufacturers, say, I don't know, any packaging manufacturer, any electronic device manufacturer. There was very little, say, rules that they had to follow when it came to development and to the fact that they were putting stuff on the market. So basically, they could sell anything without really caring about how it was going to be sorted, recovered, and recycled in the end. So I guess that's sort of change that we need to operate at a global level, and that's quite, yeah, it is a challenge. What comes with that is the complexity of what arrives on the market. If you take plastics, for example, well, we often talk about plastic as a whole, but there are tens of different types of plastic that each require their own sorting lines and their own recycling lines. And that's a huge challenge, both in terms of investment, because it requires a lot of money. It's a challenge in terms of supply, because, well, if you're going to invest in, I don't know, a PE recycling facility, then you're going to have to source that PE and route it all the way to the plant that you have. So there's a problem of volume. And then I guess the last challenge would be the volatility of virgin material prices, right? Recycled plastic don't only exist on a certain market, but they also fight against virgin plastics. And in terms like in times like this, with the volatility of oil prices, of wood prices, so paper mill prices, then everything's upside down, and the entire recycling industry has to fight that volatility. So yeah, I would say these three challenges. First, the evolution of rules. Second, I guess, investment and complexity, and yeah, and that's about it.
Speaking of the evolution and the investment part, I was wondering how do you imagine in 5 years to be the evolution of this industry, and maybe also what do you consider to be the factors that will decisively influence the players on this particular market?
I think, when it comes to the industry, it's always hard to, and it's always fun and hard to try and well, think about what is going to be happening in 5 years, because most of what is going to be happening in 5 years is already in the making. If you think about building a recycling plant, it doesn't take a year, it doesn't take 2 years, it takes 3, 4, 5 years. So actually, the way the market is going to be in 5 years is already being decided now. Now the question is, what will be decided in 5 years? That I don't really know. But yeah, the biggest challenges when it comes to investing heavily in the recycling market is what I was talking about before, is the question of volumes and the question of volatility of primary good prices. Is how do you build a plant when you don't really know how much it's going to the produce is going to be worth when it comes out. I think what we know and what is sort of a good news is that, well, oil prices are not going to go down. There's high demand, there's diplomatic and geopolitical turmoil that basically makes prices not always go up and nearly never go down. So I guess the business plans can be built based on that. Now I guess the real thing that is really hard to imagine is how consumers are going to behave. Consumers have been changing the way they consume quite drastically over the past, say, 10 years. And is the zero waste trend gonna take? And I think we all hope for it. And then the amount of packaging that are gonna end up on the market is gonna be plummeting, and that would be a great thing. So yeah, that's the volumes are really hard to forecast, especially when you could talk about a limited geographical span, which is, well, obviously the way you should think about waste, because you don't recycle waste in, I don't know, Thailand when you're in France, or at least you don't do it anymore.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, I wanted to ask you, in terms of consumers, why is it so necessary for people to understand the importance of waste valorization? I mean, what could you please present us a little bit the benefits for the environment, and also maybe give us some real life examples that Lixo faced at one point, maybe?
Sure. Well, there was a saying in France for a bit of, which was there's no little thing that you do if there are 60 million people doing it, actually showing the scale, right? There's no little gesture that you do that doesn't have any effect if there are 60 million people doing it. So that's the first thing, is that whatever you do at an industrial stage, it's never going to be as effective as if 100% of individuals do it. So that's the first thing, is that we are responsible as individuals to take actions. Now, if we can give a little bit of an example of the effects of individual behaviors in the waste management industry, well, I mostly have dangerous examples. If you take what we develop as a solution for the waste collection sector, so basically we place sensors within collection trucks and we analyze what comes in, right? It's usually recyclables or maybe bio waste, but sometimes dangerous items are put in there. If you take a gas cylinder, for example, the problem is if you put a gas cylinder within a collection trucks and it's being compacted, then it explodes. And that's, the origin of that accident that can cause human damages, machine damages. Well, all the origin of that is just one human behavior, one human that actually, sorted their waste in a wrongful way. So yes, of course, individual behaviors have massive effects. I gave a dangerous example, but there are obviously hundreds and hundreds of good examples. If you take at the very local level, a new way to sort bio-waste, for example, and to collect it, then it's thousands of tons that are being put out of landfill or incineration and back into methanization or composting, and that becomes resources again. So yeah, we are responsible as individuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's very true. We are, since we're always interested in identifying new innovative solutions, Marjorie, what can you tell us about Lixo's recycling technology? Because I saw you have some pretty interesting uh, technology that you are using at the moment, and maybe you could tell us a little bit how it works, who is addressed to, and also maybe what problems can it solve in the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
So basically what we do is we provide solutions for the entire waste management industry to monitor waste flows anywhere in real time. So what we want to do is address, again, the entire value chain, starting from waste collection, going to waste sorting, waste recycling, and waste valorization, mostly energy valorization. We place small sensors within plants or collection trucks, and these sensors are composed of a microcomputer and a camera that enables us to analyze using computer vision the waste flows. So we know exactly what it's composed of, and thanks to that information, you can make decisions in real time, operational decisions, but also commercial decisions. What can I do with that material? Can I sell it? Should I buy it? Can I actually valorize it, or should I add virgin material to it? So it's basically an optimization tool for an industry that was until then completely blind. Contrary to any manufacturing industry where you know what comes in and you know what should come out, the waste management industry has to deal with a big unknown factor, which is you have no idea what's coming in. You have no idea what you're dealing with because you rely on individual behaviors, as we mentioned, but also commercial behaviors that tend to be slightly unpredictable, etc., etc. So basically, we're opening the eyes of the industry and giving them real-time information. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So basically, you are offering an optimization tool for the entire waste industry,
Yeah.
which is pretty remarkable, especially because I know that Lixo represents a success story of a startup. And my last question for today would be about how did you come to with the idea of if it was your idea first of all, and if yes, how did you come with it with the idea of creating a company that uses this type of technology for waste valorization, and also if you have of course you haven't. If what could be your plans for the near future? That would be pretty interesting for our audience to hear about.
Yeah, so I started our conversation by talking about conviction, and I guess that's where it comes from, right? We, Olivier and I, really wanted to put our efforts into trying to solve a massive problem. So it was not a sort of brilliant idea that came up from one day to the next. It was actually a lot of digging, a lot of talking to people working in that industry, doing interviews, trying to identify what was the problem along the value chain, and traceability was a major thing that we encountered, and that's why we started working on that. So it was a more of the result of a lot of work, a lot of sort of market study, you would say, although it has a little bit of a business aspect to it. And what we're trying to do is not only business, we're trying actually to bring a change in terms of how things work. So yeah, conviction, I guess, is the big word here. And when it comes to what are we gonna do next, I guess there are two things that we can say. Is there, well, geographical expansion. Obviously, we are starting to work outside of France, in Portugal, Switzerland, Belgium, etc., with our current solutions. And what we're also doing is expansion on adjacent value chains. So we mainly work with municipal waste today, so recyclables, bio-waste, and that sort of municipal waste. But we're obviously working on adapting those solutions to the construction waste, to electronic waste, etc. And it's extremely relevant. It's just adapting the solution, but basically the tech stack exists.
So if you were to sum up, Marjorie, I think the main idea here today is that basically you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but basically it's only necessary to a little bit to adapt the existing solutions to the market requirements.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm correct.
Exactly. We've been working hard for the past 2 years on building a robust and adaptive technological solution. We were lucky enough to raise money to be able to make that solution as relevant as possible. And now we're in a phase of industrializing it and replicating it on all the geographies and all the value chains that require it.
Marjorie, CEO Lixo, thank you very much for your presence here today. Also, Dunia was in charge of the technical assistance today. Thank you very much, and looking forward to have you in our future activities.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.